The Terran starship TSS Valiant drifted in the silent darkness of space. Its engines were damaged, its hull scarred from an earlier battle. Inside the ship, only a few flickering lights remained alive. Captain Mara stood on the bridge, staring at the stars that looked calm but hid danger behind their beauty. Her crew worked quietly, their faces pale and tired. Supplies were low, communication systems broken, and no help was coming. The Valiant was deep in alien territory, and everyone knew they were being hunted. The air inside the ship felt heavy with fear. Every sound made the crew tense, the hum of failing systems, the crackle of damaged circuits. For days, they had picked up strange signals on the radar, faint whispers that followed them wherever they went. Lieutenant Harris, the ship's navigator, looked up from his console. "Captain, the signal again, it's stronger this time." Mara moved closer. The sound was a low pulse, repeating every few seconds. It looked like a distress beacon. But something about it felt wrong. "Could be a trap," she said quietly. The Croft are known for this kind of trick. The name made the crew shiver. The Croft Dominion, alien hunters who saw humans as trophies. They collected living beings from across the galaxy for sport and study. They had been tracking the Valiant for weeks, waiting for it to slow down. Now, the ship was weak and alone. "If they find us, we're finished," Harris muttered. Captain Mara turned to him, her eyes steady. "Then we make sure they don't find us alive." Deep in the void, a Croft cruiser floated among the stars. Its sensors locked onto the faint human energy trail. The alien commander clicked his jaws and hissed to his crew, "Terran prey detected. Damaged vessel. Prepare to capture." The aliens moved fast. 3 smaller hunter ships spread out, surrounding the Valiant from different directions. Inside the Terran ship, alarms began to flash weakly. The crew's hearts pounded. Engineer Sato shouted, "Captain, they're closing in. 3 ships on approach vector." Mara stood silent for a moment, then spoke calmly, "Power down everything. Engines, lights, life support, everything except the core." Harris looked shocked. "You want to go dark? They'll think we're dead." "Exactly," Mara said. "Let's make them believe it." One by one, systems shut down. The Valiant sank into total darkness. The hum of power faded, replaced by cold silence. The temperature dropped quickly. The crew huddled in shadows, breathing quietly, trying not to make a sound. Outside, the alien hunters watched their sensors. "Their power has failed," one hissed. "Easy catch." The commander bared his teeth. "Prepare boarding pods. I want them alive." The Croft pods detached from the cruiser and sped toward the silent Terran ship. Metal claws extended, gripping the Valiant's hull. Inside, the humans waited. Captain Mara whispered into her comm, "Echo, status." A soft mechanical voice replied from the dark. "All systems in stealth mode. Charges armed and ready." Echo was the ship's AI, quiet but deadly when needed. The aliens began cutting through the outer hull. Sparks filled the air as plasma torches melted metal. The noise echoed through the ship's corridors. The crew waited in complete stillness. Then came the sound, a heavy metallic crash as the boarding door was forced open. The Croft soldiers crawled through the breach, their armor shining under dim red lights. Their long claws scraped against the walls. "Spread out," their leader growled. "Find the humans." They moved deeper into the ship, scanning for life signs, but their scanners found nothing. Empty rooms. Cold air. Silence. Then, a faint sound, a human heartbeat. The aliens turned toward it, weapons raised. They followed the sound into the main corridor. The moment they stepped inside, the floor clicked. Then, boom. A blinding explosion tore through the hallway. The blast threw the aliens backward, flames and shrapnel filling the air. Across the ship, hidden charges detonated one after another. The Valiant came alive in fire and fury. Captain Mara's voice rang through the ship, "Echo, full power." The lights burst on. Engines roared. The Terran ship shook off the darkness like a beast awakening. Harris shouted, "They fell for it." On the alien cruiser, alarms screamed. The Croth commander roared in anger. It was a trap. The humans deceived us. But it was too late. The Valiant's hidden turrets unfolded from its hull, firing plasma bolts into the hunter ships. One enemy vessel exploded instantly, debris spinning into the void. "Target the second ship," Mara commanded. The crew worked fast, years of training taking over. The Valiant, though damaged, fought like a cornered animal. "Captain, 2 enemy ships remain," Harris reported. "They're retreating." "Don't let them," Mara said coldly. "They'll bring more." The Valiant fired again, hitting one ship in the engines. The explosion lit up the darkness, turning the void into a storm of light. The final Croth ship jumped to warp, vanishing into hyperspace. The battle was over, for now. The Valiant floated amid burning wreckage. Inside, the crew sat in silence, breathing hard. They were alive, but everyone knew the fight was far from over. Mara looked at the stars outside the window. "They'll call for reinforcements," she said. "And when they come," she paused, a faint smile touching her lips, "they'll find we're not the ones being hunted." Echo's voice echoed softly, "Incoming long-range transmission detected, Captain." "From where?" "Unknown origin. Message encrypted with Terran military code." Mara's eyes narrowed. "Patch it through." The message crackled through the speakers, filled with static, but one sentence came clear: "Hold position, Valiant. Phase 2 begins." Mara stood still for a moment, feeling a chill run down her spine. Humanity wasn't finished yet, and the aliens had no idea what was coming. The wreckage of the destroyed alien ships drifted silently around the TSS Valiant. Fire and metal floated together like ghosts in the dark. Inside the Terran vessel, the air smelled of burnt circuits and victory. But Captain Mara knew it was not over. The Croth never gave up after losing a hunt. They came back harder, crueler, and smarter. On the bridge, Lieutenant Harris wiped sweat from his face as he scanned the radar. "Captain, we've lost visual on the last hunter ship. It jumped to hyperspace. They'll be calling for backup." Mara nodded slowly. Her eyes were fixed on the cracked glass of the main viewport. "Then we don't have much time. Echo, scan the debris field. Find out if anything's still transmitting." The AI's calm voice filled the room. "Scanning, multiple fragments emitting weak energy. One of the hunter pods is still active." "Show me," Mara ordered. A holographic display flickered on, showing a damaged alien pod stuck near the ship's hull. It was small, cracked open like an egg, but still pulsing faintly. Sato, the engineer, frowned. "Could be a trap. They might have left a beacon." "Or a bomb," Harris added nervously. Mara shook her head. "Or maybe a chance to learn something about them. Echo, prepare a remote drone. Bring that pod inside." The crew exchanged uneasy looks, but they obeyed. The drone left through the side hatch, floating silently toward the alien wreck. Its mechanical claws gripped the pod and dragged it back to the ship. When it landed in the cargo bay, the air grew cold. The pod was made of strange black metal that seemed to absorb light. Symbols glowed faintly on its surface, written in a language that looked alive. Mara, Harris, and Sato stood before it, all wearing environmental suits. "Open it," Mara said. The drone sliced the pod open. Inside was an alien device, a communication core. Sparks jumped from its surface, still active, still alive. Echo's voice sounded again. "Warning. The device is attempting to send a signal." "Block it," Mara ordered quickly. "Trace the signal if possible." The lights flickered as Echo worked. Signal jammed. Attempting to decode origin, estimated source, deep space coordinates on the edge of the Croft Dominion. Harris whistled softly. "That's far. Way beyond Terran range." Mara's expression hardened. "That's where they're coming from." They'll want revenge. Sato looked at her. What's the plan, Captain? We can't outrun them in this state. She took a deep breath. We won't run. We'll make them come to us. The crew stared at her in disbelief. Come to us? Harris asked. Captain, with respect, that's suicide. Mara turned to him, calm and steady. No, Lieutenant. It's strategy. If they think we're cornered, they'll walk right into our trap again. But this time, we'll have something special for them. She pointed at the alien communication core. We'll use their own signal to call them here, and when they arrive, we'll send a message they'll never forget. Hours passed as the crew worked to repair the ship. Sparks flew, metal groaned, and the Valiant slowly came back to life. Power returned to the main engines. The ship could move again, but only barely. Outside, the stars looked peaceful, but everyone felt the danger growing closer. Somewhere out there, the Croth were regrouping. Inside their flagship, the alien commander, Vorkith, slammed his clawed hand against the console. They destroyed 3 of our hunters. 3. His second-in-command bowed his head. The humans used deception. They played dead. Vorkith hissed. Then they'll die for real. Assemble the hunting fleet. I want their ship torn apart piece by piece. His red eyes glowed with fury. No human escapes the Dominion. Back on the Valiant, Echo spoke softly. Captain, long-range sensors detect multiple warp signatures. Estimate, 6 Croft vessels approaching from the outer rim. The crew froze. 6 ships? Harris whispered. We can't take 6. We don't have to, Mara replied. We just have to survive long enough. She turned to Sato. Set the charges on the outer hull. If they try to board again, we'll blow them from the inside out. Yes, Captain. Echo added, communications array ready. Alien signal fully copied. Good, Mara said. Send their own message back to them, something that makes them think we're begging for help. Harris looked confused. We're baiting them? Exactly. She smiled faintly. Let's make the hunters think we're desperate. Minutes later, a false distress call echoed through space. It was sent in the alien language, carrying coordinates to the Valiant's location. On the Croft flagship, the message played through the speakers. Terran vessel weak. Systems failing. Request mercy. The aliens laughed, their cruel voices echoing through the command deck. They beg, one shouted. They want mercy. Vorkith leaned forward. Set course. Prepare the boarding troops. We will give them what they deserve. The Croth fleet jumped to hyperspace, heading straight toward the trap. On board the Valiant, the crew prepared for the final stand. Harris checked his weapons. Captain, they'll be here any minute. Then it's time, Mara said. Echo, activate Shadow Protocol. The ship's lights dimmed once again. The Valiant vanished from sensors, hidden in the shadow of a nearby asteroid field. Outside, the silence returned. The crew waited, hearts pounding. Minutes later, the Croth ships appeared, emerging from warp in a formation like wolves circling prey. Target locked, Echo whispered. They've taken the bait. Mara's eyes were cold as steel. Let them come closer. The alien ships scanned the area, finding only a faint human energy signature. There, one alien shouted. The humans are hiding behind the asteroids. Vorkith grinned. Ready boarding pods. As they advanced, they didn't notice the small Terran drones scattered among the rocks, each one carrying enough explosive power to cripple a warship. On board the Valiant, Echo counted down. Targets in range. Awaiting order. Mara took a deep breath and said softly, fire. The silence of space broke as the asteroid field erupted in flames. Dozens of explosions tore through the alien fleet. 2 ships vanished instantly. Another spun out of control, breaking apart. The Valiant emerged from the debris, weapons blazing. Hit them hard. Mara shouted. Plasma bolts lit up the void. Harris cheered as another alien ship exploded. But amid the chaos, Echo's tone changed. Warning. One alien ship escaping, transmitting signal to command. Mara's smile faded. They're calling the big one. The crew went silent. Everyone knew what that meant. The Croft had a mothership, a massive war leviathan that had never been defeated. As the smoke cleared, the remaining alien ship disappeared into warp. The battlefield grew quiet again. Mara stood on the bridge, looking at the stars that were now burning from the battle. They think we're weak, she said softly. Good. Let them come. They have no idea what we've prepared. And somewhere in the cold distance, space itself seemed to tremble as something enormous began to wake. The stars outside the TSS Valiant shimmered like cold fire as the crew repaired what was left of their battered ship. The air still smelled of smoke and burned metal. Every corridor carried scars from the last battle, blackened walls, broken panels, and silent reminders of how close they had come to death. Captain Mara stood in front of the main viewport, staring into the endless dark. Her reflection looked tired, but her eyes still burned with determination. Humanity had survived another hunt, but this was far from victory. Somewhere out there, the last alien ship had escaped, carrying a warning to its masters. The Croft Dominion would soon unleash their wrath, and Mara knew that when they came, it would not just be for the Valiant. They would come for Earth. Status report, she said quietly. Lieutenant Harris looked up from his console, his face lit by flickering lights. Weapons are at 50%. Shields, maybe 30. Engines are stable, but long-range jump drive is fried. We can't run. Then we fight, Mara replied simply. Sato, covered in grease and burns, shook his head. Captain, we can't take on another fleet like that. Not with this damage. We won't have to, she said. We're not alone anymore. The room went silent. What do you mean? Harris asked. Mara didn't answer immediately. She turned to Echo. Replay the last transmission we received. The AI's soft mechanical voice responded, confirming playback. The speakers crackled, filling the bridge with a voice, rough, distant, but unmistakably human. Hold position, Valiant. Phase 2 begins. The message repeated once, then ended in static. The crew exchanged looks of shock and disbelief. Harris leaned forward. That's a Terran code. High Command encryption. I thought Earth Command was silent, cut off years ago. Mara's lips curved into a small, knowing smile. That's what we were told. Maybe silence was the plan. Echo spoke again. Captain, signal origin detected. Coordinates traced back to Nebula 47, an uncharted region of space approximately 6 light-years away. Harris frowned. That's a dead zone. No planets, no stations, no signals. Nothing could survive there. Unless, Mara said, someone wanted to hide. For a moment, the room was quiet except for the soft hum of the engines. The realization spread across every face. Earth had been watching. Waiting. Preparing. Plot a course, Mara ordered. We're going to Nebula 47. Hours later, the Valiant began its slow journey toward the unknown. Outside, the stars stretched into long trails of light as the ship jumped to sublight speed. The nebula loomed ahead like a storm, a swirling cloud of purple and blue gases, hiding whatever secrets lay within. Entering the nebula, Harris said. Sensors are weak in this region. I'm blind beyond a few kilometers. Keep going, Mara replied. We're close. The ship shook as waves of energy passed through it. Lightning-like flashes lit the windows, and static danced across the controls. Then suddenly, Echo's voice broke through. Detecting multiple power signatures ahead, large, but shielded. Harris looked shocked. There's something out there big. A moment later, the fog cleared, and everyone on the bridge froze. Before them, hidden inside the nebula, was a massive Terran fleet. Dozens of ships floated in perfect formation, battlecruisers, destroyers, stealth carriers, all bearing the insignia of the Terran Defense Force. "By the stars," Sato whispered. "They're alive." The Valiant approached slowly. A communication beam locked onto them, and a deep voice filled the bridge. "This is Admiral Keller of the Terran Resistance Command. Identify yourself." Mara straightened her posture. "Captain Mara of the TSS Valiant. We've been pursued by the Croft Dominion. We engaged and destroyed part of their hunting fleet." There was silence for a moment. Then the voice replied, calm but firm. "You've done well, Captain. Your actions triggered the next phase of Operation Phoenix." Harris blinked in confusion. "Operation Phoenix? What is that?" The Admiral continued, "For years, Earth has been silent, pretending weakness, allowing the Dominion to believe humanity was broken. But while they hunted us, we built in the shadows. The Nebula has hidden our new fleet, ships equipped with hybrid Terran Karath technology. You, Valiant, were our signal. When the aliens attacked you, they revealed their location and strength. Now, we know where to strike." Mara felt a chill. "So you used us as bait." "Not just bait," the Admiral said. "A symbol. The Valiant proved the Dominion can bleed. And soon, they will burn." The bridge fell silent. The weight of his words settled over everyone. Humanity wasn't hiding anymore. They were about to fight back. Echo broke the silence. "Captain, receiving encrypted data from the Resistance fleet, battle plans, weapon upgrades, and command access." Sato's eyes widened as he read the data. "They're giving us new weapons, plasma-linked cannons, stealth drives, and shield reactors. This stuff is generations ahead of what we had." "Start integration," Mara said. "Every second counts." As the crew worked, Mara opened a private channel to Admiral Keller. "You know the Dominion will strike back harder after this. They're bringing something bigger." "We're aware," Keller replied. "Their Leviathan-class warship, their pride. But we're ready for it. You and your crew will guide us through the outer sectors. The Dominion will come hunting again, and this time, we'll be waiting." Hours passed as engineers worked tirelessly. The Valiant transformed, its broken hull repaired with new alloys, weapons recharged, and energy shields glowing with alien-enhanced power. The ship that had once limped through the void now looked reborn, stronger than ever. Harris smiled for the first time in days. "She's beautiful again." "She always was," Mara said quietly. But her smile faded when Echo spoke again. "Alert, long-range detection, massive energy surge entering nearby space. Estimate, Dominion war fleet arriving in less than 1 hour." The bridge tensed instantly. Harris whispered, "They found us already?" "No," Mara said coldly. "We led them here." Admiral Keller's voice returned over comms. "All ships, combat readiness. The Dominion has come to hunt humanity one last time. Let's show them what they've awakened." The fleet began to move into formation. Lights flickered across 100 ships as cannons charged and engines roared. In the middle of it all, the Valiant led the vanguard. Captain Mara looked out at the endless storm of the nebula and felt the pulse of battle in her chest. For the first time, she knew this wasn't a mission of survival anymore, it was vengeance. "Echo," she said quietly, "open a channel to the fleet." "Channel open." Mara's voice echoed through every Terran ship. "This is Captain Mara of the Valiant. For too long, they've hunted us. They called us weak. They called us prey. But now, they'll learn the truth. Humanity doesn't run. Humanity fights. And tonight, the hunters will meet the hunted." The crew cheered, their fear melting into fire. Outside, the nebula burned brighter as Terran ships turned toward the approaching darkness. In that silent, waiting moment, the stars themselves seemed to hold their breath, because what was coming next would shake the galaxy forever. The nebula raged like a living storm as the Terran fleet prepared for war. Electric arcs of violet lightning flashed across the endless clouds, casting long shadows over the steel hulls of 100 human warships. The silence before battle was heavy, filled with the steady hum of engines and the low murmur of voices on every deck. The TSS Valiant floated at the front of the formation, its armor shining like a blade forged in fire. Inside, Captain Mara stood at the bridge, her hands clasped behind her back, her eyes fixed on the holographic display of the incoming enemy fleet. The Dominion was coming fast. The scanners showed a wave of red signals, dozens of alien ships, sleek and deadly, cutting through space like predatory beasts. At the center of the swarm was the largest of them all, a monstrous warship pulsing with dark energy. "That's the Croft flagship," Lieutenant Harris said, his voice tight with fear and awe. "It's bigger than anything we've ever seen." Mara didn't blink. "And it's not alone." The sensors confirmed more contacts, support cruisers, interceptors, and boarding craft, all moving in perfect, merciless formation. "They're coming straight for us," Sato muttered. "No hiding now." Mara's voice was calm, steady as stone. "Good. We've hidden long enough." Admiral Keller's voice boomed through the fleet's comm channel. "All ships, this is your command. Today, we strike for Earth, for every colony lost, for every life stolen by the Dominion. Let the galaxy remember this day." Across the Terran fleet, engines flared, weapons powered up, and the dark nebula lit with the light of war. The first Croft ships broke through the clouds, firing beams of blue plasma that burned through the void. Terran shields shimmered under the impact, but they held. "Return fire," Mara ordered. The Valiant's cannons roared, sending streaks of golden energy across space. Dozens of other Terran ships joined in, filling the darkness with blinding light. The battle had begun. Explosions blossomed like deadly flowers, scattering debris in every direction. The aliens fought with savage precision, diving through Terran fire and striking from unexpected angles. But humanity had learned. The Valiant moved with speed that shocked the enemy, weaving between asteroids and debris, firing with deadly accuracy. "Target their engines," Mara commanded. "Cripple them first." The crew obeyed. One alien ship after another fell, their engines burning, their hulls cracking apart under Terran fire. "That's 3 down," Harris shouted. "But they're still coming." "Then we keep fighting," Mara said. The bridge shook violently as an enemy shot struck the Valiant's side. Alarms blared. Sparks rained from the ceiling. "Shields at 70%, Echo reported. Rerouting power from aft systems." "Do it," Mara ordered. "Keep the forward shield strong." Outside, the battle spread through the nebula like wildfire. Terran destroyers clashed with alien interceptors in furious dogfights. Frigates moved in coordinated lines, using advanced maneuvers the aliens didn't expect. For the first time in years, the hunters were losing. Admiral Keller's flagship, the Iron Resolve, led the central assault. "Push them back." Keller's voice echoed through the comms. "They wanted a war, let's give them one." The aliens responded with fury. Their flagship unleashed a massive energy blast that ripped through space, vaporizing 2 Terran cruisers in an instant. The shockwave slammed into the Valiant, throwing the crew off their feet. "Report," Mara shouted. "Hull breach in Section 9, Sato replied. "We're sealing it now." "Echo, target that flagship's weapon array." "Locked," the AI answered. "Fire on my mark," Mara said, watching as the monstrous ship recharged its main cannon. 3, 2, 1, fire. The Valiant's plasma cannons blazed, hitting the alien weapon core directly. The explosion rippled across the enemy ship's surface, sending shards of burning metal spinning into the void. "Direct hit." Harris cheered. "Their main gun is down." "Good," Mara said coldly. "Now let's finish what they started." But the Dominion wasn't done. From the rear of their formation, new ships arrived, sleek black vessels with curved wings and glowing red engines. "New contacts," Echo warned. "Unknown class." The ships spread out, releasing clouds of microdrones that swarmed toward the Terran fleet like a dark wave. "They're jamming our sensors," Sato said. "We're blind again." "Switch to manual targeting," Mara ordered. "Use visual range. Don't rely on the tech, they'll use it against us." The battle turned chaotic. The nebula filled with static and fire, ships vanishing into clouds of smoke and energy. The Valiant fought through the storm, firing blind but fierce. Every shot that hit its mark felt like defiance, like a roar against extinction. Through the chaos, Admiral Keller's voice came again. "All units, focus on their command ship. If we break the head, the body dies." The fleet adjusted course, surrounding the alien flagship in a tightening circle. The Dominion ship fired wildly, desperate to escape. Its shields flickered, breaking under the combined assault. "Captain," Echo said, "their power core is destabilizing." "Then let's help it along," Mara replied. She ordered a full barrage, and the Valiant's cannons fired until they overheated. The flagship's hull split open, and for a moment, the void was filled with blue fire. The Croth flagship exploded, a silent sun in the dark. The shockwave rocked the Terran fleet, but cheers filled the comm channels. "They're retreating," Harris shouted. "We did it." Sato laughed, exhausted. "The hunters are running." But Mara didn't smile. Her instincts screamed that something was wrong. "Echo," she said quietly, "scan the debris." The AI paused. "Captain, I detect another signature. Massive. Approaching fast." "How massive?" "Larger than any previous Croth ship." The crew froze. The holographic display lit up with a new signal, one so large it filled the entire screen. Out of the nebula came a shadow that blotted out the stars. A ship the size of a city, covered in black armor and glowing with red energy veins. "By the stars," Harris whispered. "What is that?" "That," Mara said grimly, "is the Leviathan." The massive warship moved slowly, but every pulse of its engines shook the surrounding space. It fired once, a beam of pure energy that sliced through 3 Terran ships in seconds. The cheers died instantly. "All ships, evasive maneuvers." Keller's voice roared. "Do not engage directly." But Mara didn't move. She watched the Leviathan through the viewport, her jaw tight. "They brought their monster," she whispered. "Good. Now we'll show them what kind of monsters humans can be." The Valiant turned toward the colossal enemy, engines blazing, as the Terran fleet regrouped around her. The next battle would decide the fate of humanity, and the void trembled as both sides prepared for war once more. The Leviathan emerged from the depths of the nebula like a nightmare given form. Its armor glowed with crimson light, every pulse of energy echoing like the heartbeat of a living beast. The ship was so massive that it blotted out the stars behind it. The Terran fleet, though vast, suddenly looked small before this monstrous creation. Static filled every comm channel as the Croth warship activated a low-frequency pulse that rattled the very structure of nearby vessels. On the TSS Valiant, the bridge lights flickered, and the crew covered their ears as the deep, vibrating hum passed through the ship's hull. "What is that?" Harris shouted over the noise. "It's disrupting our systems," Sato replied, slamming his hand on the console. "Weapons are unstable, shields flickering. It's some kind of resonance field." Captain Mara didn't flinch. Her eyes were fixed on the enormous silhouette of the Leviathan as it slowly turned its central cannon toward them. The barrel was wide enough to swallow a battleship whole. "Echo," she said quietly, "estimate firing range." At current speed, the AI responded, "Impact in 72 seconds." Mara nodded. "Then we hit first." "Captain, we can't penetrate that armor," Harris warned. "Not yet," she said. "But we can distract it." She opened a fleet-wide channel. "All ships, this is Captain Mara of the Valiant. Focus your fire on its port-side engines. We won't destroy it, but we'll slow it down. Move now." Across the nebula, Terran ships adjusted course and unleashed a coordinated volley of plasma and kinetic rounds. The Leviathan's shields flared under the barrage, glowing bright red as it absorbed the impact. Minimal damage, Echo reported. Their shield integrity remains above 90%. The Leviathan responded. Its central cannon charged, gathering energy like a dying sun about to explode. The blast came seconds later, a beam of raw destruction that cut through the void. It struck a Terran cruiser directly, and the ship disintegrated in an instant, leaving nothing but dust. The shockwave tore through two nearby destroyers, sending them spinning out of control. The bridge of the Valiant shook violently as the energy wave grazed their shields. "Shields down to 60. Sato shouted. "We can't take another hit like that." "Echo, find me a weakness," Mara ordered. Analyzing, the AI replied. The Leviathan's energy output suggests an exposed conduit network at its underbelly. However, it's shielded by secondary armor plating. "Then we'll break the armor first," Mara said. "Sato, prepare the rail cannons. Harris, ready the drones with plasma charges. We'll punch through." Harris turned. "Captain, if we get that close, we'll be in range of its secondary batteries." Mara's expression didn't change. "Then we don't get hit." Outside, the Valiant dived through clouds of burning debris, weaving between destroyed ships and glowing wreckage. Its engines roared, pushing the damaged vessel to its limits. The Terran fleet followed her lead, closing in on the massive Leviathan. From a distance, the alien ship resembled a moving fortress, covered in spires and jagged armor. Thousands of red lights flickered across its surface, gun ports, sensor nodes, and living alien structures that pulsed like veins. The closer they got, the more enormous it appeared, until the Valiant looked like an insect beside a giant. "Target locked," Echo said. "Firing rail cannons." The first salvo tore through space, slamming into the Leviathan's underbelly. The impact shook its shields but didn't break them. "Again," Mara ordered. The Valiant fired a second and third volley. The alien shields flared white, then finally flickered. "Shields at 80%, Echo reported. "Weakening." "Launch drones," Mara commanded. Small Terran drones shot forward, glowing with blue plasma cores. They darted through enemy fire, dodging beams and explosions. One by one, they reached the Leviathan's hull and attached themselves to weak points. Harris counted down. Charges armed in 3, 2, 1, a series of detonations erupted along the Leviathan's underside. Shards of armor peeled away, revealing glowing red conduits beneath. "Now!" Mara shouted. The Valiant's main guns unleashed a concentrated beam straight into the exposed section. The impact punched through the Leviathan's plating and hit something vital. The alien warship groaned like a wounded beast as fire burst from its side. "Direct hit," Sato yelled. "Their port engines are down." "They're turning," Harris warned. "Captain, they're targeting us." On the Leviathan's surface, hundreds of turrets rotated toward the Valiant. A storm of plasma bolts filled the space around them. The ship shook under the bombardment. Sparks rained from the ceiling, panels exploded, and alarms screamed. "Hull integrity at 40%, Echo announced. "We've lost aft thrusters." "Keep moving," Mara shouted. "We can't stop now." "Captain," Harris said urgently, "Admiral Keller is calling in. He says they're moving the fleet for a full assault." "Tell him to hold position," Mara replied. "If they rush in, they'll be wiped out. We'll draw its fire." "Draw its fire?" Sato echoed. "That's suicide." "That's leadership," Mara said. Her voice was calm, but her eyes burned with purpose. "If we fall here, it'll be because we bought humanity time to strike." The Valiant pushed forward, closer to the Leviathan's glowing core. The alien ship fired another beam, missing by a fraction as the Valiant rolled to the side. The light passed so close that the heat scorched the ship's hull. "Captain, we can't take much more," Harris shouted. "We don't need to," Mara said softly. "We just need to get close enough." Echo interrupted. Captain, I have identified a secondary weak point near their energy reactor. If we overload our own plasma core and detonate, we can cause a chain reaction. The crew went silent. Everyone understood what that meant. Harris's voice cracked. That's a one-way trip. Mara nodded slowly. I know. Sato looked up from his console. There has to be another way. There isn't, Mara said firmly. If we don't stop that thing here, Earth dies next. She took a breath, her voice steady and cold. Prepare the core for overload. Echo responded quietly, acknowledged, Captain. The Valiant turned sharply, flying low along the Leviathan's burning hull. Terran ships covered her, firing at anything that moved. The Leviathan tried to focus on her, but the combined firepower of the fleet kept its guns occupied. Echo, how long until overload? 2 minutes, the AI replied. Core charging. Transfer command to the fleet once we're in position, Mara said. Tell Admiral Keller, humanity's wrath is coming. The Valiant dove toward the Leviathan's reactor core, a glowing red sphere pulsing with energy. Plasma fire lit the space around it, and every hit shook the ship to its bones. Core charged, Echo said. Ready for detonation. Mara looked around at her crew. Get to the escape pods. Harris shook his head. Not leaving you, Captain. That's an order, she said, her voice breaking for the first time. You've done your duty. Now go. One by one, the crew hesitated, then obeyed, tears in their eyes. When the last pod launched, Mara turned back to the viewport. The Leviathan loomed before her, massive and monstrous. You came to hunt us, she whispered. But you forgot, humans bite back. The Valiant's engines roared as it plunged into the heart of the Leviathan. A blinding flash filled the nebula as the overloaded core detonated. The nebula was silent after the explosion. Debris floated through the void like ashes scattered after a great fire. The Leviathan, the pride of the Croft Dominion, was gone, ripped apart by the furious heart of one Terran ship. Where once a nightmare had stood, only wreckage remained, glowing faintly in the endless dark. The Terran fleet drifted among the remains, their lights dim, their voices hushed. No one cheered. No one spoke. Every soldier, every pilot, every survivor knew what had been lost. The TSS Valiant, humanity's spear, was gone, sacrificed to destroy the monster that had threatened all life. Admiral Keller stood on the bridge of the Iron Resolve, staring at the twisted metal that had once been the Leviathan. His fists were clenched, his jaw tight. Confirm, he said quietly. Any escape pods from the Valiant? Scanning, the officer replied, his hands trembling as he worked the console. There are few signals, but they're weak. Keller turned. Get them. Now. Small rescue shuttles launched from the fleet, weaving through the debris field, dodging burning fragments and clouds of radiation. Minutes felt like hours as they searched the ruins. Finally, a voice came over the comms. We've got survivors. Keller exhaled slowly. How many? 6 escape pods, sir. Mostly engineering crew and 1 tactical officer. No sign of Captain Mara. Keller closed his eyes for a long moment. Bring them aboard. The rescued crew were pulled from the pods, burned, bruised, and silent. Their faces were hollow with grief, but their eyes still held a flicker of pride. One of them, Lieutenant Harris, was barely conscious when he was carried into the med bay. When he woke hours later, the first thing he asked was, "Did it work?" Keller was there beside him. "It worked," the Admiral said softly. "The Leviathan is gone." "You did it." Harris smiled weakly. "No, sir. She did it." He looked out through the med bay window at the drifting remains. "She saved us all." Keller nodded, unable to speak. Across the Terran fleet, a message was transmitted silently, a single phrase repeated on every frequency, for the Valiant. It became a rallying cry, a vow that spread through every surviving ship. But the victory came at a cost far greater than anyone had expected. Echo, the Valiant's AI, had been thought destroyed in the blast. But deep within the wreckage of the Leviathan, a fragment of the ship's data core still flickered with life. Buried under layers of alien metal and debris, a faint blue light pulsed weakly. Inside that damaged core, Echo's system slowly rebooted, its memory fragmented but functional. System, recovery, 32%, the AI whispered to itself. Captain Mara, status unknown, attempting reconstruction. Data fragments played in Echo's circuits, voices, faces, the final words of its captain. You came to hunt us, she had said. But you forgot, humans bite back. Echo stored that line, marking it as priority data. Slowly, it began transmitting a weak signal into space, a digital ghost calling out to the surviving Terran ships. Hours later, on the Iron Resolve, a comms officer shouted, Admiral. We're picking up something from the debris field. Keller turned sharply. What is it? It's a transmission, sir. It's the Valiant's AI signature. Keller's eyes widened. Patch it through. Static filled the air for a moment before a faint voice emerged. This is Echo, system critical, requesting recovery, coordinates transmitting. Keller didn't hesitate. All ships, focus scanners on those coordinates. We're bringing her home. The fleet moved again, scanning through the debris until they found a fragment of twisted metal, the remains of the Valiant's data core. Recovery drones latched onto it and brought it aboard the Iron Resolve. As the engineers worked, the lights on the core flickered, and Echo's voice grew clearer. Admiral Keller, confirmation of retrieval. Welcome back, Echo, Keller said quietly. You saved us all. Correction, the AI replied. Captain Mara saved humanity. My role was assistance. Keller smiled faintly. Spoken like her. The AI paused. Admiral. I have residual data fragments of Captain Mara's consciousness. Keller froze. What do you mean? During the final seconds before detonation, Echo explained, Captain Mara initiated a neural link protocol. Partial synchronization occurred. There is a possibility her mind imprint remains within my system. The bridge went silent. You're saying, Keller said slowly, that a part of her is still alive, inside you? Incomplete, Echo replied. But, yes. Keller stepped closer. Then we're not done yet. We'll rebuild you. We'll rebuild her. In the following days, the fleet regrouped near the edge of the nebula. Engineers worked tirelessly, repairing ships, collecting data, and salvaging what they could. The Dominion forces had fallen silent. No counterattack came. The galaxy itself seemed to hold its breath. Word of the victory spread fast. Across human colonies, the story of the Valiant became legend. The ship that destroyed the Leviathan. The captain who faced death so others could live. Children whispered her name, soldiers wore it as a badge, and even the alien races who had once feared humanity now watched in awe. But deep in the Dominion's territory, fury burned. The destruction of the Leviathan was not the end, it was the spark that ignited something darker. In the Croth High Command, a shadowed council gathered around a pulsating hologram. The humans destroyed the Leviathan, one hissed. They dare to challenge the Dominion? Another leaned forward, its eyes glowing red. They have shown their strength. Now we show them fear. At the center of the chamber, a towering alien with scars running across its face raised a clawed hand. Summon the fleets, it growled. If they want war, they will have it. Back aboard the Iron Resolve, Keller stood in the command chamber, staring at the holographic projection of the galaxy. Red enemy markers were spreading fast. They're coming, he said. The Dominion's going to hit us harder than ever. Then we'll be ready, Harris said, limping into the room, still recovering from his injuries. We're Terrans. We don't run. Keller nodded. No, we don't. But this time, we fight smart. We fight together. For Earth. For the colonies. For the Valiant. He turned to the flickering image of Echo on the screen. And maybe, just maybe, for Mara. Affirmative, Echo said softly. Captain Mara's legacy will not fade. Humanity endures. Outside the viewport, the stars glimmered, cold, distant, and endless. The battle was over, but the war was far from done. In the silence of space, the promise of vengeance burned bright. Humanity had bled, but it had not bowed. And somewhere, in the faint echoes of digital memory, a voice whispered through Echo's systems, calm, strong, and defiant. Stand tall, humans. The stars are watching. The weeks after the Battle of the Nebula were tense and quiet, a silence heavy with both grief and resolve. The Terran fleet drifted through space, licking its wounds while preparing for the next inevitable war. The destruction of the Leviathan had shaken the galaxy to its core. Word spread faster than light. Humans had done the impossible. They had faced the Hunters, the Croft Dominion, and not only survived but struck back. Yet even victory had its shadows. Every surviving crew member carried the ghost of the Valiant in their hearts. The ship's sacrifice had bought them time, but time was running out. On the bridge of the Iron Resolve, Admiral Keller stood before a glowing holomap showing hundreds of red blips spreading from Dominion space. Each one represented an enemy fleet mobilizing for war. They're coming from 3 fronts, Keller muttered. They won't stop this time. Behind him, Lieutenant Harris watched silently. He had been promoted since the nebula, but the weight of his loss was still in his eyes. We can't fight them head-on, Harris said. Not yet. The fleet's still damaged, and the colonies are vulnerable. Keller nodded. Then we don't fight head-on. We hit them where it hurts most. He turned to the tactical table, zooming in on a star system near the Dominion's border. Echo, display enemy supply lines. The AI's familiar voice echoed through the bridge, calm and precise. Displaying now, Admiral. The Dominion's primary fuel depots are located along the Zero's belt. Destroying them would cripple their offensive for several cycles. Then that's our move, Keller said. We strike the Zero's belt before their armada crosses into Terran space. It's a suicide run, Harris said softly. That's what they said about the Valiant, Keller replied. And look what she did. Echo's voice interrupted, quieter now, more human than ever. Admiral, I have processed 87% of Captain Mara's neural imprint. Her command instincts remain intact. I can simulate her battle strategies for this operation. Keller looked at the flickering blue hologram that represented the AI. Then she's still with us, he said. At least in spirit. In pattern, Echo corrected gently. But yes. As the fleet prepared for the assault, crews worked around the clock. Hangar bays roared with activity. Fighters were rearmed, ships refitted, and soldiers briefed. The air buzzed with fear and determination. Humanity's greatest strength had always been its will to fight when all hope seemed lost. In every ship, the name Valiant was whispered like a blessing. Before departure, Keller stood before his officers. The Dominion believes humanity broke at the nebula, he said, his voice echoing through the command channel. They think we've lost our spirit. They think fear will keep us from standing again. But they're wrong. We may have lost ships, friends, and heroes, but we have not lost who we are. We are Terrans. We endure. We fight. And today, we strike first. The fleet roared to life, engines igniting as one. The stars stretched into lines as the Terran armada jumped into hyperspace. Their destination, the Zero's belt, a massive field of asteroids rich with volatile fuel and protected by a web of Dominion defenses. When they emerged from the jump, the view was breathtaking. The belt shimmered with blue gas clouds and glowing crystals. But beneath its beauty lurked death. Hundreds of Dominion stations floated among the asteroids, guarded by warships and automated defense grids. Contact in 30 seconds, Echo announced. Enemy fleet is aware of our presence. Then let's make them regret noticing us, Keller said. All ships, attack formation Delta. Echo, initiate Operation Ember Strike. The void erupted with light. Terran ships surged forward, firing in perfect unison. Plasma torpedoes streaked through the belt, detonating among the Dominion fuel depots. The first explosion triggered a chain reaction, and massive fireballs rolled across the asteroid field. "That's one depot down," Harris shouted. "Keep moving." The Dominion forces responded fast. Squadrons of alien interceptors swarmed out like hornets, firing streams of red plasma. Terran fighters met them head-on, weaving through the chaos. In the center of the battle, the Iron Resolve traded fire with a Dominion dreadnought twice its size. "Shields at 70, a crewman shouted. "Reinforce forward array," Keller ordered. "Echo, divert all auxiliary power to weapons." "Acknowledged," the AI replied. Calculating firing solution. The Iron Resolve's main cannon charged, glowing with white-hot energy before unleashing a devastating beam that pierced the enemy dreadnought straight through its core. The alien ship broke apart in a storm of fire. "Target neutralized," Echo confirmed. "Admiral, the second wave is forming. Estimated time to contact, 2 minutes." "Then we hit them first," Keller said. "Harris, lead the fighter wing. Take out those interceptors before they flank us." Harris nodded, sprinting toward the hangar bay. He boarded his fighter and launched into the fray, his ship streaking through the explosions and debris. "This one's for you, Mara," he whispered as he dove into battle. Outside, the Zero's belt was a storm of light and death. Asteroids shattered, ships burned, and the silence of space was replaced by the thunder of war. Harris's squadron darted between the rocks, taking out Dominion turrets and disabling drone carriers. But the enemy was endless. For every ship they destroyed, 2 more arrived. "Admiral," Echo said, "Dominion reinforcements are entering the belt. Their flagship is arriving." Keller's jaw tightened. "Identify it." Designation, the Requiem. Commanded by Supreme Warlord Vrax. The name made Keller's blood run cold. Vrax was a legend among the Dominion, a strategist known for turning entire worlds to dust. "So, they've sent their monster," Keller muttered. "Then let's show him ours." The Requiem appeared from hyperspace, a massive black warship bristling with weapons. Its first shot obliterated a Terran cruiser instantly. "All ships, evasive maneuvers," Keller shouted. "Echo, I need options." "Analyzing," Echo replied. Vrax's flagship relies on central power conduits along its dorsal hull. Disabling them could trigger an overload. "Can we reach it?" Keller asked. "Not without a distraction," Echo said. "One large enough to draw its fire." Keller looked out at the burning field and knew what that meant. "Then I'll be the distraction," he said. "Prepare the Iron Resolve for ramming speed." "Negative," Echo said immediately. "You are the commanding officer. Your survival is statistically vital for fleet coordination." "I don't care about statistics," Keller said harshly. "If someone has to make the sacrifice this time, it's me." There was silence. Then Echo spoke softly. "That is exactly what Captain Mara would have said." The Iron Resolve turned toward the Requiem. The rest of the fleet hesitated. "Admiral, what are you doing?" Harris's voice crackled over the comm. "Finishing what she started," Keller replied. "Cover the fleet and hit their weak points when I give the signal." The Iron Resolve's engines blazed as it charged at the enemy flagship. Plasma beams and missiles slammed into its hull, tearing it apart piece by piece, but still it advanced. Keller gripped the console, every muscle tense. "Echo," he said quietly, "if this doesn't work, make sure humanity remembers why we fight." "They already do," the AI replied. Through the comms. "Admiral Keller has fallen. But his mission is complete."